Next, on this special edition of Currents News, a big day in the Brooklyn Diocese, Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio installing a new pastor in Park Slope, and he's a bishop too. They all visited St. Patrick's Cathedral, and now these popes are memorialized inside. We'll give you a closer look. Students perform scenes from the nativity during the annual Bishop Dimarzio Christmas Luncheon. The event helps more children receive a Catholic school education. And a challenge to young people who've heard God's call to religious life, an obstacle that hasn't received much attention. The news starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. Welcome to this special edition of Currents News. Tonight, we're looking back at some of our most memorable stories recently reported by our Currents News team. We begin with a great moment for a Park Slope church. A new pastor is taking over, and he has lots of experience. Currents News' Katie Engesser has that story.
With thunderous applause, Auxiliary Bishop of Brooklyn James Massa is appointed as pastor to Holy Family St. Thomas Aquinas Parish in Park Slope.
This is a day of great joy and fulfillment for me.
That's because this assignment has special meaning to him. Since his priestly ordination over 30 years ago, he has served as professor and chaplain at many Catholic universities and seminaries in New York and Boston. But there is one ministry Bishop Massa had not undertaken.
He never was actually a pastor in his whole priesthood. Was always teaching and doing administrative work, so he wanted this opportunity to be a pastor.
That's the reason why we're ordained, is really to serve the people of God as a shepherd.
As part of his work as an auxiliary bishop, he often represents Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio at parish events and functions, experience he hopes to use in his new parish.
I learn a lot from visiting the very varied parishes we have in the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Here at Holy Family St. Thomas Aquinas, Bishop Massa's biggest hope is to unite the parish's two main groups, English and Spanish speakers. Bishop Dimarzio, celebrating the bilingual installation Mass, offered his brother bishop some pastorly advice.
Taking things slow, they get adjusted to understand the people, understand the needs, so that he can find the right solution to the problems that face this parish here.
Many parishioners are excited about their new pastor.
Bishop Massa is a very wonderful person.
He seems to be such a humble man, very nice, and he always goes out of his way to say hello and call you by your name.
I think he's a very loving person. Everything that comes through him comes from his heart. As
Mass ends, Bishop Massa already begins caring for his flock, saying a quick prayer for an altar server who got sick during the Mass.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
The youngster apparently had an allergic reaction to the many roses in the church. At last word, she was okay. In Park Slope, Katie Engesser, Currents News.
4 popes are memorialized inside St. Patrick's Cathedral for the first time ever. Now on display, the bust of the pontiffs who made history when they visited New York. Currents News' Emily Drewby has that story.
Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict XVI, and Pope Francis. These new papal busts will greet the millions of people a day who visit St. Patrick's Cathedral.
They look beautiful.
The bronze busts, a tribute to the 4 popes to have visited St. Patrick's Cathedral, were crafted by local sculptor Carolyn Palmer.
Each one has their heart coming through. I tried to portray their hearts coming through.
To best capture their likeness, Palmer spent hours studying them.
I start by researching lots and lots of photos, and I have videos, and I then enlarge the photos on walls and in my studio. And I watch them. I watch each person and how they spoke and their sensitivities.
From their eyes to the crosses they wear around their necks.
Each one is, I designed the cross to actually, sculpted the cross to actually match each pontiff. And I did a lot of research on that to see which one they wore the most.
The busts are located in the vestibules right off of 5th Avenue and are about 8.5 feet off the ground.
I designed them to be looking down and facing left and right, depending on the parishioners coming in or guests coming in and guests leaving.
The busts took 2 years to complete, weigh about 250 pounds each, and sit upon marble shelves. Pope Paul VI and Pope John Paul II greet visitors in the south vestibule, while Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis can be found in the north vestibule. The busts honor the historic visits of these 4 popes to America's church, St. Patrick's Cathedral. This includes Pope Paul VI's historic visit to the cathedral in 1965, which was the first time a sitting pope visited the Western Hemisphere. In Manhattan, Emily Druby, Currents News.
The Archdiocese of New York is taking action to promote the Holy Father's concern for the environment. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports on how the bright idea could help generations to come.
Monsignor Peter Finn is the pastor of Blessed Sacrament Church in Staten Island, and he's part of a new program to help protect the environment. Monsignor recently had rooftop solar panels installed on his church and the parish's Catholic school as a way to promote Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si.
The educational information will enlighten people to be more and more careful about how they use God's resources.
Blessed Sacrament is one of 5 parishes in Staten Island and Yonkers to have the panels installed. Nearly 1,700 panels will generate enough electricity to supply almost half of the power needed to run the parishes. The panel installation is part of a collaboration between the Archdiocese and Con Edison Solutions, a company that is part of Con Ed.
It's a perfect example of how we each need to do our own part in taking care of the environment. And in this case, reducing the use of fossil fuels, reducing the carbon footprint, taking advantage of renewable energy.
You look at what the church represents, it's a 2,000-year institution, and they're all about eternity. So if you want to talk about eternity, you're talking about preserving the planet for future generations.
And there's a teaching moment in this conversion. Students at Blessed Sacrament's Catholic School will learn about the project.
Kids will see that we are taking part in saving energy, then it'll inspire them to try and help and save energy too.
The Archdiocese looks to expand the program to other schools and even cemeteries. In Staten Island, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Immigrants from around the world recently joined Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio for a special migration mass, the liturgy taking place at a time when immigration is a contentious issue. Currents News' Emily Druby reports.
It's an event parishioners say they look forward to every year.
This is very meaningful for Chinese Mandarin immigrants here.
Because you see, it's different countries, different peoples, race. I think it's very nice.
The annual Migration Day Mass held at the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph, dressed in traditional garb. Parishioners and clergy members from ethnic ministries of the diocese were joined by Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, who's an internationally recognized leader on migrant issues.
We seem to be in different areas, different camps, different ways of thinking of things. But the church has that ability to bring people together across all these lines. We have a common faith that unites us.
The event promoting that unity with a reading of the prayer of the faithful in 25 different languages.
On any given Sunday, Mass is celebrating 29 different languages, and you really see the extent to that diversity in Brooklyn.
Attendees expressing the importance of this event in the current political climate, which one called unwelcoming to immigrants.
We should not let those people win because we all are one humankind. God created everybody. We should welcome everybody because we're all visitors on earth. One of these days, we all go back to where we came from.
Father Patrick Keating further explaining the Migration Day Mass is about coming together and sharing the oneness of their faith. In Prospect Heights, Emily Druby, Currents News.
There's a lot more news headed your way on this special edition of Currents News. Help for children in the Diocese of Brooklyn to get a great Catholic education. Bishop Dimarzio's Christmas Luncheon coming up. Plus, a big education success story. Brooklyn is bucking a national trend. And her student debt is delaying her vocation, and she's not alone. Do you have a story idea, something happening in your parish we should know about? We want to hear from you. Keep this email handy, newstips@thesalesmedia.org. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to this special edition of Currents News, where we are looking back at some of our most memorable recent stories. We turn now to two churches in the Jordan Valley that are set to surround the site of the baptism of Jesus. Now, pilgrims were banned from the area in order to save their lives. Now, that's changing. Ian Lee reports from the West Bank.
Stepping into this church is to step back in time. The sanctuary abandoned over 50 years ago. But step here last year, and it could be on a landmine. Israel laid thousands along the border with Jordan after the 1967 war, including at 7 churches. These bullet holes are just a reminder of the fighting that took place here. And while this area has been cleared of landmines, you don't have to go far, maybe 200-300 meters, and you're in another minefield. Over the past year, the Israeli government and British NGO Halo have cleared the land around 3 churches, a testament to the peace with Jordan that now prevails. But what makes these churches particularly important lies just upstream, what is believed to be the baptismal site of Jesus, one of the holiest places in Christianity. Nearly 800,000 pilgrims visit every year. How certain are you that you got all the landmines?
Almost 100%, but I cannot say 100%, but if I can walk here, my children can walk here, so everybody can walk after we finish the job here.
Roughly 5,000 landmines remain, and an unknown amount of unexploded grenades, mortars, and other explosives. The work is slow and painstaking as demonstrated here. They aim to finish by the end of next year. Another problem, frankly put, landmines move. A recent rainstorm came through here and you can see where the water flowed from the hillside. The only problem is that this is a landmine field and that water can carry landmines and deposit them in recently cleared areas. Once completed, these churches hope to turn this moonscape of death back into a garden of life.
That was Ian Lee reporting from the West Bank. Combining Christ's birth with future generations, Bishop Dimarzio hosting his annual Christmas Luncheon while raising scholarship money. Guests enjoyed a special performance too. Currents News' Tim Harfman has the story from Russo's on the Bay in Howard Beach.
Catholic school students singing Christmas hymns to put people in the holiday spirit at Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio's annual Christmas Luncheon.
This is kind of opening the Christmas season. We always have it at the beginning of December. It's a beautiful way of starting Advent, looking forward to Christmas.
It's a festive fundraiser to support the diocese's Catholic Foundation and create new scholarships for Catholic schools.
The Catholic Foundation does what it can to support the spiritual welfare of a parish. We give out grants to the parishes. We help with youth ministry and, of course, scholarships.
Bishop Dimarzio also acknowledging members of the faithful for their contributions to the church. Joseph Esposito, who spent 45 years with the NYPD, reaching the rank of chief of the department and later headed the city's Office of Emergency Management. He says faith plays a vital role in life.
It means so much to me. The Catholic Church, Catholic education did so much for my career, my life. If it wasn't for my 12 years of Catholic education, I would not be standing here.
Also being honored, Monsignor Alfred Lapinto, CEO of Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens. Through many programs, Catholic Charities helps nearly 100,000 people living in the diocese.
If it's a way of honoring Catholic Charities and the work we do at Charities, then it's all worthwhile.
And Sister Tisa Fitzgerald, Executive Director of Our Children, a home in Long Island City, Queens, helping formerly incarcerated women reconnect with their families and society.
It's a recognition of the mothers and children that I work and really privileged to work with, and the good that they have done with their lives, that we only are there to support them. And it's really the call of the gospel.
A time for holiday cheer while showing recognition and support for future generations.
That was Tim Harfman reporting. Catholic schools across the country are seeing very low numbers of Latino students enrolled in their institutions, but the Diocese of Brooklyn is bucking that trend. Currents News' Emily Druby reports on how.
At Our Lady of Sorrows Catholic Academy, students were awarded for their outstanding grades.
You're the best of the best. You're the top of your class.
Something else outstanding, over 99% of these students identify as Latino.
We're 99.9% proud here.
This is far from the norm across the U.S. A report published by Boston College back in 2016 said while there's about 8 million Hispanic school-aged Catholics in the country, only about 300,000 of them are enrolled in Catholic schools. That's less than 4%. But the Diocese of Brooklyn bucks that trend with about 32% of students identifying as Hispanic or Latino. But why is this number so high? It could have something to do with access to scholarships.
The tuition's almost $5,000. That's a lot of money for a family who makes hardly anything.
During a panel at the Catholic University of America, it was suggested the cost of Catholic schools is a key barrier to Latino enrollment. But many students within the Diocese of Brooklyn benefit from the Futures in Education program, which provides scholarships to students who attend Catholic school.
The scholarships are so important to our diocese because there are many people that would like to send their children to our schools. Many of them are immigrants and they struggle, and they would not be able to send their kids to our schools if it weren't for the scholarships from Futures in Education.
At Our Lady of Sorrows, 147 students were awarded Future scholarships just this year. That's over $290,000.
Thank God for it. To be honest with you, without that, we would be shut down.
Students say they're happy to go to this school that nourishes both their minds and their soul.
I love that we can all learn about God.
Better education than other schools, and that teachers love us, like we're a family in here.
In Corona, Emily Druby, Currents News.
Paying down an education loan stands in the way of a Queens College student who wants to become a nun. Unfortunately, her story is not unusual. A growing number of religious communities are turning away people who've heard God's call if they also carry debt. Currents News' Katie Engesser reports on how the young woman hopes to overcome that problem.
Can we invite the Holy Spirit?
Oh, sure.
Good. Come, Holy Spirit.
Norvelia Etienne's life, just like this interview, begins with prayer.
I knew the faith from a young age, and my grandmother was sure to teach me it.
Growing up on the shores of St. Lucia, Norvelia says God was a member of her family, and the idea of a religious life was something her grandmother, the matriarch, always wanted for one of her children.
My grandmother has wanted a religious in our family for about 40 years now. So she wanted my mom to become a religious, and thanks be to God she isn't.
But Norvelia will be.
I remember sitting back one night after praying and saying, oh no, my grandmother has prayed me into being a nun.
Norvelia's calling came during the most secular time in her life, in the middle of college.
A Day in the Life of a Nun. I don't think I've seen that one.
She scoured YouTube, searching every vocation video, looking for a match.
Just this video popped up of the Benedictines of Mary, Queen of Apostles, and I was like, ooh, a new nun video. So I clicked on it.
Until one just sang out to her. And Norvelia found herself being called to a cloistered lifestyle.
What caught me was the peace, and I just knew that it felt like home.
Norvelia wants to join the Singing Sisters. Though they don't leave their monastery in Missouri, they topped the Billboard charts in 2014. But she has a problem, a big problem, worth $60,000.
I have student loans.
Many religious orders require candidates to be free from financial burdens before entering. That means Norvelia's debt delays her calling. According to studies, nearly half of individuals discerning religious life are barred from formation because of their student loans. It's a growing problem in the middle of a growing vocation crisis.
It's not that God isn't calling, it's just that people can't answer.
Norvelia is getting help from the Labouré Society, a nonprofit organization that helps those joining orders pay off their college debt.
And they sing everything in Latin.
They teach men and women how to fundraise ethically so they can devote their life to God.
I just want to enter. I just want to be Christ's. I just want to give my life to Him.
Norvelia is currently writing letters about her vocation story and hopes someone will donate. She has 6 months to raise $60,000. In Flushing, Katie Anguser, Currents News.
And a quick update on Norvelia. At last word, the hopefully soon-to-be nun is close to halfway toward reaching her goal, raising $29,754. Now, if you would like to contribute to her cause, visit laboresociety.org/Norvelia ATN. Still to come on this special edition of Currents News, a World War II vet's big wish for his 96th birthday. You could help him. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this special edition of Currents News, where we're looking back at some of our most memorable recent stories. A World War II veteran in California says he just wants one thing for his upcoming 96th birthday: letters in the mail, birthday cards from anyone who will send them. Nicole Comstock has more.
Getting mail is so mundane.
Every day says, "Oh, have you checked the mail?"
You might forget how it feels.
To get something in the mail that's for him, that's special.
For those who don't get it.
Not very often.
All my friends are gone.
Dwayne Sherman is soon to be 96 years old.
You do not look 96 years old. I swear to you.
I sometimes feel it.
And he doesn't feel much like celebrating his birthday this December 30th.
Nah.
Or at least he didn't.
No gifts, please.
Until his daughter Sue Morse went to Facebook and asked anyone out there listening to send him a birthday card.
I wanted him to feel special on his birthday.
Well, it'll be heartwarming.
Sue's dad isn't just special to her. He means something to this country. The World War II Navy veteran earned a Purple Heart for a historic mission he survived in 1944. He was a chief sonar man aboard the USS Lamson, and he remembers the moment a kamikaze plane hit his ship.
The flames from the crash engulfing the bridge.
30 of his shipmates lost their lives in that action, and Dwayne still has shrapnel in his back.
We should all be very proud of their service and honor them in any way that we can.
You can call this a happy birthday or a thank you for your service.
Oh, I have a hell of a time reading them.
Either way, Dwayne will have a good time opening up the mailbox.
Probably put them in a box and save them for next year.
Oh, thank you so much for your service, Dwayne. If you would like to send Dwayne a birthday card, and I hope you do, you can address it to Dwayne Sherman in care of Sue Morse at P.O. Box 794, Highland, California 92346. We're also putting the address on our website, netny.tv/shows/currentsnews. That is it for this special edition of Currents News. I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you so much for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.